Hello students, this is Vidya Dhabai here. As you can see my YouTube channel on the screen, Excel in English by Vidya ma'am. So you are requested to subscribe it, follow it, or you can like it and share it to your friends. And you can also see a link given here of Fun Academy. You can also follow me on this link also. So guys, in the coming weeks, hello everyone. I hope you all are very in good health and spirits. Well, before starting my today's lesson, let me discuss with some new developments which is related to all the aspirants who are preparing for the competitive exams. Well, of course, I'm talking about the new common entrance test, the new policies which has been brought by the government yesterday only, or you might have seen it earlier also. Well, what I think, you might all be worried what will be the policy might be like, or earlier you have to appear for different exams, now you have to appear for one exam. So a little bit of I think you might be worried, but the point to be noted, since I am just giving you lessons of English, I am helping you out in excelling you all in English. So let me clarify that whatever exams you are appearing or you will be appearing in the future, of course your knowledge of English language is a must. So of course there might be no changes there, so you have to be yourself be update with the English language, acquiring all the knowledge related to English language. So not to worry in that case. So you will continue, of course, acquiring the knowledge related to English. So with this, let's start today's topic. So as you can see in the slide, today I am beginning with the next part of the speech, that is verbs. Of course, you all know we have completed previous part of the speech, that was noun, and still some topics are left in that. We will be covering that in the near future. But let me start with the next part of speech, which is verb. Now, when we talk about verb, the immediate thing which comes to our mind is verb. Oh, verb, it means only the action words. Well, my dear students, it's not like that. It is a very, very broader concept, and you will see when we will be going through this, all the topics covered in this, all the concepts of verbs. Of course, it also includes like tenses or the verbs, the forms of verbs. But in this lesson, I will be taking some kinds of the verbs, and some kinds I would be taking in my coming lessons, upcoming lessons. So let's start with just the basic concept, the word verb. What does this mean, or which are the different kinds of verbs? So let's start with this. As you can see in this slide, some sentences are given. So let's discuss these sentences first. So the first one is, Anthony throws the ball. So of course there is an action word, throws, and Anthony is of course the subject, and the ball is the object, right? So as you all know that verb, when we talk about part of speech, the most indispensable parts are of course the noun and the verb, because other parts of speech like prepositions, adjectives, or adverbs, they may be there in the sentence or they may not be there in the sentence. Without these, sentence can be framed, but without subject, that is the noun or the pronoun, or the verb, the sentence or the phrase or the clause are not complete, right? So that means verb is an indispensable part of a sentence. Now let's see what are verbs, and with this, so the first sentence, Anthony throws the ball. So what is what the action is there, or is it telling a state of being, or is it telling some action, or it is telling about some situation? So of course you can see throws. So throws is an action word, so that means this word is telling us about some action. and Anthony is the subject and the ball is the object, right? Now let's see the second sentence. Anthony is throwing the football. So what difference you see in the first sentence and the second one? So of course, if immediately if I ask, the immediate answer which would come is the first one is present tense and the second one is present continuous tense. Of course, it is correct. I can't say this is incorrect, but what I want to clarify is that in the second sentence, the verb, if suppose I just delete is from this sentence, does this sentence make any sense? Suppose I say Anthony throwing the football. Is it a complete sentence? Of course it is not. So that means to complete this sentence we need the verb that is. So is, but is not an action word, right? So so what we should call it? So we call it helping verb, right? So this is the difference between the first one and the second one. Let's see the next ones. She accepted the job offer. Now let me clarify, like she is the object, accepted is the action word, but the job is not the object here. So that means what I want to say is that it is not necessary that every sentence should have object or it needs an object, right? So I will be telling you the different kinds, but let me clarify the difference between all of these sentences. So that means in the previous two sentences, of course, object was there. So you can answer like what was Anthony doing? He was throwing the ball. What he was throwing? The ball. Same in the second case, but in the third one, what she is accepting? The job. So there is, of course, there is a similarity. Let's see the next sentence. I feel scared. Now what difference you see in this one and the previous sentences? So of course no object is there. Does this sentence require an object or is it complete without an object? So that means of course it is complete. It is making complete sense. So that means it does not require an object. So another concept which comes in the verbs, that while we are using verbs, there are many sentences which does not require an object. They are complete without any object. So this is also another concept of the verbs. So you might be familiar with transitive or intransitive verbs. So those verbs which do not require those nouns which do not require those sentences which do not require an object, they are referred as intransitive verbs. Similarly, let me clarify the above sentences also. Anthony, I talked about that is helping, the verb is helping the whole sentence to make complete sense. So that means it is a helping verb. So which three different concepts you have come across till now? First one was a basic action word, that is the principal verb. In second sentence, is, the word is or the verb is acting like it is helping the main verb throwing to complete the sense. So is helping verb here. Similarly, the next sentence is I feel scared, like I was discussing. It does not require an object. It is complete in itself. So it is an intransitive verb. Of course, we will be discussing all of these verbs, kinds of verb in the next slides. Next, the flowers are bright. Now, is there any action being done in this sentence? Of course not. So that means this is also a particular situation of verbs which is you can say a state of being. How are the flowers? They are bright. So they are the word which is playing the part of a verb is are. So it is a state of being. It's not no action is being done here. So this is the which kind is this? This is the static verb, right? We will be doing all of these in detail in the coming slides. Let's see the next. Dennis bought a bicycle. Of course, the subject and object both are there. And what did Dennis bought? A bicycle. So this is transitive verb. And let's see in the next one, Mr. Becker jogs every day. Now this sentence is also similar to the above one. I feel scared. Both of these sentences does not require an object to make sense. So both of these are intransitive verbs. Next, the wind blew strongly. Yes, this is also an intransitive verb. The verb here is blew, and in the above sentence the verb was jogs. Of course, these are action words. Let's see the next one. He insisted me to bring my car. Now, if suddenly I ask you to, of course you will say there are two verbs in this sentence. The first one is insisted and the second is bring, right? But which word is telling us the action? So of course that is insisted, and we can change this into he insists me, or I can say we can change this into present tense also. But the second verb to bring we cannot change. It will remain like this only, whether we use the main verb in the present tense or in present continuous or past, this will remain same. Of course you might be familiar with the term infinitive. So to is infinitive here. So the verb which is being used here, to bring, that is infinitive. And of course we will be discussing the verbs finite and non-finites in the coming lessons. So let's move to the next sentence. Swimming is a good exercise. Immediately if you will of course tell me swimming is the action word here, but my dear students, it is not. The word swimming is not playing the role of an action word, but it is playing the role of a noun, right? So it is acting like a subject here, and subjects are generally most of the time they are nouns or pronouns. You all know that. Means the verb swimming is a good exercise. Swimming is not the verb here. Then what's the verb? Of course is, and is the it is playing the role of the verb, but it is not an action word, so it is a static verb. And let's come back to swimming. So swimming, as I told you, it is playing the role of a noun. So another concept of verbs come here, that noun, the verbs also play the role of, sometimes they also play the role of adjective, noun or adverb. In that case they are referred as non-finite verbs, as I discussed in the previous sentence. So that means this is also another kind of the non-finite verb which we call as gerunds. So that means what you come to know in this whole all of these examples. What concept came to your mind? What did you learn? Of course you learned that verbs, the word verb is not just the action word, it is a very broader concept. Now let's move to the meaning or definition of the verb. Let's see. As you can see in the slide, first let me read out the definition, then we'll discuss it about. So verb is a doing word that shows, see carefully, an action. The first is an action, second an event, third or a state, right, which I have already discussed in the previous examples. So a sentence may either have a main verb, that is the main action word which I discussed, a helping verb or both, right? So these concepts I have already told you. In other words, a verb is a word that informs about an action, an existence of something or an occurrence. Now an existence of something means, suppose I say the earth is round, so it is an existence. These like I used in the previous sentence, the flowers are bright, it is an existence, right? Occurrence means happening of some event, like the Republic Day parade held at the Pragati Maidan, like that. So it is an example of occurrence. So the verb here is held, right? So this is the meaning of this. The verb is the main word in a sentence. No sentence can be completed without a verb. So this I have already told, that when we talk about of this, verb is an indispensable part of any sentence. Without these, sentences cannot be completed. So that's it. Now some examples are given here. You can see the sun shines, the horses are running, diamond is the hardest substance, and she is a wonderful singer. If you see all of these four examples, the verbs are playing different parts. If you see the first sentence, it is an action here. What does the sun? What is the sun showing? It is shining, right? And another thing is, it is an intransitive verb, does not require an object. Next, the horses are running. So of course running is the verb here, but it requires are to complete the sense. So are is the helping verb. Or another concept which of course we'll be discussing in the next slides also, that is, some verbs are there, helping verbs, which we are used in progressive sentences, right? So progressive sentences means continuous forms of whether it is present, past or future, right? So next is diamond is the hardest substance. So this relates to the definition also, like I was telling you, existence of something. So this is the example of that. And of course the helping verb here is the is, and she is a wonderful singer, a factual description. So is playing the part of a verb. Now let's move to the next slide. So here you can see the different kinds of verb which we have already discussed also. So the kinds which are given here, first the action verb, no need of much description in this kind. Second is transitive verb. I have already told you the verbs which does not, of course in detail we will be discussing in the coming slides or in my next lesson also, because first I will be explaining you the finite verbs, which transitive verb and intransitive verbs do not come under this category, finite verbs. They come under the category of non-finite verbs. So non-finite verbs I will be explaining you in the next lesson. So in this lesson I will be explaining you only the finite verbs. So let's see which are the other kinds: finite verb, non-finite verbs, and dynamic verb, stative verb, regular verbs, irregular verbs, and auxiliary verbs. In this lesson I will not be taking all of these kinds. The some of the kinds which I am not going to teach you in this lesson, I will be taking in my coming lessons. So let's start with the first kind, that is the finite verbs. Broadly we just categorize verbs into two categories, that is, the first one is finite verbs and second one is non-finite verbs. If very briefly I have to explain you, so that the concept is clear to you, so you just of course I will be reading the definition also, but let me clarify in simple words how you can differentiate between finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Finite verbs change according to the tense, person or number, right? Once again I repeat, finite verbs change themselves according to the tenses, the person, that is singular or plural, or a number. Person means the gender, and number of course singular and plural, right? So, and non-finite verbs, they do not change. If you remember in the beginning when we were discussing the examples, there was like swimming is a good exercise, or before that there was an example, he insisted me to go to the market. Now if we say to go to the market, this is a non-finite verb. To go to market will not change if you change the number. Like if he insisted, if I change he insisted to, they insisted, then also it will remain same, right? So that means non-finite verbs do not change by tense, number or gender, right? So this is the basic difference between the finite and non-finite verbs. Now let me read out the definition. A finite verb is a form of verb that has a subject and can function as the root of an independent clause. Finite verbs are the locus of grammatical information of gender, person, number, tense, aspect, mood, voice. So, as I have already told you that finite verbs change according to the number, tense and mood and voice also. Now voice means, you might be familiar with that, active and passive voice, right? Like if I say, if I talk about voice, transitive verbs you can recognize if they can be changed into passive voice. So that's why this word is written here, voice. These verbs also relate to the voice also, that is passive voice and active voice, right? So let's see the examples now. The first one given is, she had planned it another way. So if you see, what is the verb here, main verb or action word, that is planned, and but this require a helping verb also, that is had, right? Of course if you remove had, then also it makes sense, like she planned it another way is also correct, because this will become an example of simple past tense, and the one which is given in the slide, she had planned it another way, is an example of past perfect. Of course we will be discussing this when I will be explaining you tenses in my upcoming lessons, but that is not the point of discussion here. Let's move to the another sentence, the next one. Of course the first one we have she had planned it another way. So had is the you can say helping verbs, and in the next slides I will be explaining you how many categories are there in helping verbs, or you can say auxiliary verbs, another name for that. Let's move to the next sentence. He did not show me the chocolate until I begged him to do so. So of course there are two verbs in this, one is begged and the first one is did not show, right? Then next, you should not lie when someone asks you a serious question. So these are, now can you see any difference between the first one, he did not show, and next, you should not lie? What is the difference between these verbs? Just think about it. So second sentence, you should not lie, is actually a suggestion. Somebody is giving you a suggestion. So this is another aspect of finite verbs, that sometimes we use verbs to express like to ask for permission or suggestion, or to give some order, or for probability, like it may rain today. So those are also a kind of finite verbs, that is modalic auxiliary verbs, which is a kind of finite verbs. Of course in the next slide we will be discussing the different kinds of the finite verbs. So let's see. So the first, before beginning the first kind, let me clarify which are the different kinds of finite verbs. Of course we have discussed in the previous slide also, which like auxiliary verbs and transitive verbs and intransitive verb, which I have discussed in the previous examples and all that. One by one I will be explaining you. So let me first explain you the first kind. Transitive and intransitive verbs I will be taking in my next lesson. In this I will be explaining you only the you can say auxiliary verbs, the first kind of the verbs, which are auxiliary verbs. So When we talk about auxiliary verbs, basically these are, you can say, uh, three kinds. First is uh, primary auxiliary verbs. Second one is modalic auxiliary verbs, and the third one is linking verbs. So one by one I will be taking. Let me first take the principal verb, or the another word which is used for the principal verbs is lexical verbs. As the word suggests, you might be knowing the main action words which we use in any sentence, those are known as the principal verbs. They do not require, listen carefully, they do not require any helping verb to make sense. So those are known as principal verbs. Let me read out the definition now. The main verb is also called the lexical verb or the principal verb. This term refers to the important verb in the sentence, the one, just I am emphasizing on this one, the one that typically shows the action or state of being of the subject. Main verbs can stand alone. This is the most important line in this definition, that these verbs can stand alone. They do not require any other helping or linking verb to complete the sentence, right? So they can be used with the helping verb or also called an auxiliary verb. So both the situations. So let us take the examples now. He came. Of course, it is the sentence is complete. Came is the verb here. Second one, she went to the market. Went is the action word here. I waited for 2 hours. So all these three verbs, they do not require anything to make sense. So they are acting as they are playing the role of principal verb. Next sentence is, it rained all night. Of course, it does not require any other verb. Next, Priya writes a letter to her father every day. So all these are action words. They do not require any other kind of verb to make sense. So let's move on to the next kind of the finite verb, that is auxiliary verbs, or another word which is we also call them helping verbs, because they give full meaning to the sentence when they are added in the sentence. So let's see how many kinds are there. As I have already told you, there are basically three kinds. They are categorized in three kinds: primary helping verbs, modalic helping verbs or modal helping verbs, and third is linking verbs. So one by one we will be taking, but first let me read out the definition. An auxiliary verb is a verb that adds functional or grammatical meaning to the clause in which it appears. I will not read the full definition at one time only, then you will be confused. So let me clarify. First thing is that all the auxiliary words, they give functional or grammatical meaning to the sentence. The first thing is this, which means that they give some they tell us about the number, the tense, or state of being. These verbs tell us the description of all these things. If we do not use these verbs, we will not be able to come to know these things, the state of mind or the aspect or the mood or the tense of the sentence, without auxiliary verbs. So this is the main concept. So as the next part is, so as to express tense, aspect, modality, voice and emphasis. So modality I have already discussed, and tense also, aspect also. Modality means the use of models, and of course I think you might be familiar with the terms models which we use in English grammar. They are a very important part of English grammar. Some of the models are like can, may, might, should, shall, ought to. So they are actually known as conditional words, because they are used in some special particular conditions. Like I earlier said, like for asking for permission or obligation or possibility, or some of these situations we use models. So those verbs which we use to show these are known as modalic verbs. And voice, I already discussed that. You might be familiar with active and passive voice. So these verbs also tell us about the voice, that the sentence is whether in the active voice or the passive voice. For example, like we cannot change intransitive sentences into passive voice, but we can change transitive verbs or transitive sentences into passive voice. So this will be discussing in detail when I will be taking transitive and intransitive verbs. Let's come back to this only. Let me complete the definition. So the next part goes like that. Auxiliary verbs usually accompany a main verb. Now this is the main part of the sentence. They accompany, not always, but usually they accompany a main verb. So they generally come with the main verb or the main action word, like he was walking in the garden. So if I say he walking in the garden, it is not a complete sentence. So it requires the helping verb, that is was. So this is what this sentence is conveying the meaning. The next is the main verb provides the main semantic content of the clause. It gives the main meaning of the sentence or the clause. So as I have already read the different kinds, so let me take these kinds of auxiliary verbs one by one. The first one I will be taking is the primary helping verbs. Now let me take the definition. Actually, if I talk about primary helping verbs, they does not require a very lot of description, but you should know that which words are actually used as primary helping verbs. Of course, in the previous definition, it was already given they help the main verb. So if this thing you keep in your mind, they help the main verb, so immediately it will come to your mind which verbs we use to help the main verb. Of course, is, am, are, was, were, has, have. These we use to with the main verbs to give sense to the sentence, right? So say in very simple words, those are the helping verbs. Now let me read out the definition, and then we'll be taking one by one. So primary helping verbs are the verbs that help the main verb in the sentence by extending its meaning. Now why this word is given extending its meaning? Because sometimes or earlier I have given you sentences like he was walking in the garden, but if I delete was from here, it will not make any sense. He walking in the garden, it does not make any sense. But if I say he has, let me take another sentence that will clarify this word extending its meaning, like he has finished his work, right? Now if from this sentence if I delete has, then also the sentence makes sense. He finished his work, it changes into simple past tense. So that means if we delete has, then also, or if we add has, then also, so has helping verb is giving the extended meaning to the sentence, right? Let me now complete the definition. Helping verbs are used to create the most complicated verb tenses in English. So they play a very very big role in tenses, that you will also come to know when we'll be taking this topic, tenses. Of course, it is a very very elaborate or very broader concept. So verbs play the main role in the tenses. Of course, I will be teaching you the different forms of verb also, like the first form, second form, third form, and the fourth and fifth also, or how many forms of verbs are there. And this also relates to the another kind of verbs, which are regular and irregular verbs. So forms of verbs and regular and irregular verbs are connected. So that I will be taking in a separate lesson, not in this lesson, because that is connected to tenses also and to the forms of verbs also. So that I will be taking in a different lesson. So let's just complete this first. The progressive and the perfect aspects. So progressive means the continuous forms, it relates to the tenses. So all the continuous form, that is the present continuous, past continuous, or the perfect continuous tenses, that means primary helping verbs are used in all the progressive tenses and the perfect tenses. Of course, we use which helping verb in perfect tenses if we are familiar with the tenses of, or you have the knowledge of tenses, which is the base of the English grammar, you can say, or the English language. So of course you might be knowing, if you have the knowledge of tenses, that we use have. Of course the word have shows position also, but generally it is used in tenses in the perfect tenses, right? So now let me take the different kinds, so the confusion is you don't have any confusion, to be, to have, and what is progressive and perfect, what is all this. Let me take all these helping verbs, primary helping verbs, one by one, right? So the first category of the primary helping verbs, basically these are categorized into three. The primary helping verbs are categorized into three kinds, that is, the first one is to be, the second one is to have, and third one is to do, right? So when we talk about the first one, to be, so what the helping verbs which we use in this form of the verb are, as you can see in the slide also, is, am, are, was, were, been, being, and all this. And of course these we use is, am, are, and was, were, or has, have. When do we use? Of course we use in case of, I am talking about helping verbs only, not the static verbs. Remember this thing, we are talking about helping verbs here, not static verbs. Like if I say the earth is round, it's here his is not helping verb, it is playing the role of a static verb. But we are talking about here helping verbs. So in what situation we use is, am, are, was, were in helping verbs? Of course in the progressive form. Like if I say it is raining, so it is raining, here is playing the part of a helping verb. In which form? In progressive form, right? So similarly, let me take one more example, or just you think about some more examples. Like if I say the boys were playing, so what is the helping verb here? Now another thing is the next one is to have. So whenever we talk about this verb, helping verb, actually the have word, it shows position also, right? Like he has a big car, it is showing position. But in this case it is not playing the part of a helping verb, it is playing the part of a stative verb, because it is showing the position, right? But if I say he has done his work, here it is playing the part of a helping verb. And in which situations we use? Of course we use has, have, had, as it is written in the slide also, present perfect tense, like he has done his work, the boys have completed their journey. So in this case, that means this form of the helping verb to have we use generally in present perfect tense, or had we use in past perfect tense, like the train had left the station when we reached there, right? So had is playing the part of past perfect. So with this, let's move to the next one. Of course examples are given here also, so we'll be discussing the examples also. The third form is of the primary helping verb is to do. Now to do, in which situations we use, as it is written here also, we use this in the questions and negative sentences. Now let me clarify this within examples. Of course we use do, does, and. So the next kind is you can see on the slide, modal helping verbs. We also call them modalic helping verbs. And of course you might be familiar with the models which I discussed a few minutes back also. So these are those kinds of helping verbs, or I can say the words which we use in this kind of helping verb are can, may, might, ought to. That means the verbs which we use in special situations, right? And what are those special situations? Or you can say these are actually conditional sentences. We use these in some particular situations, like for to show possibility, or to take permission, or to show obligation, or to show duty. So like let me clarify this with some examples, then we will take the definition. Like let me take 2-3 sentences, like you must obey your elders. So what does the word must is conveying the message? Like if I change you will obey your elders, does it make any sense? No, it does not make any sense. So you should obey your elders, or you must obey your elders is actually a suggestion, or you can say it is an obligation. You have to do this thing, right? So that means the word or the model must is showing us, telling us very particular situation or some particular condition. Now let me take another example. May you live long. So what does the word or the model may is expressing? It is showing a willful desire. So it is also special situation. So that means models we use in some particular situations to show. Let me read out the definition now. These are a special class of auxiliary verbs used to express conditionality, that means some conditions, necessity, like you ought to pass this exam, you ought to obey the order of the chief, that is the necessity. Obligation, you must respect your elders, like that. Ability, you can swim very well, or she can sing very well. So this is the ability, showing the ability. And a wishful desire, which I have already given, may you live long is the example of this. So the modal verbs in the English are, these are some of the examples given, and modal verbs I have already told you, like can, could, should, would, will, then ought to, may, might. These are some of the modalic verbs which we use in the English grammar. So let us take examples. The first one is given, Priya can swim very well, and of course it is helping the main verb swim, and the modalic verb which is here is can, and it is showing the ability. The modal can is showing the ability. Then next, it may rain today. Rain is the main verb and may is the modalic helping verb, and it is showing the possibility. Let's move to the next example. Can I use your pen for a moment? So this is about a permission. Main verb is use here and the modalic verb is can. The next one is, you must reach on time at the cafe. Now what is the main verb here? Of course reach is the main verb and the modalic verb is must, and it is an you can say it is an obligation. So these are some of the examples of modalic helping verbs. Now let's so the next kind which you see on the slide is the next kind of auxiliary verb, that is the linking verb. So before going through the definition, let me take an example to make the meaning of this kind of auxiliary verb clear. The sentence goes like this: I know the truth. Is there any is it wrong? Of course it is not wrong, it is correct. But if I add ing to this sentence, like I am not knowing the truth or I am knowing the truth, does it make any sense? Of course it does not make any sense. So that means what thing comes to our mind, that there are some verbs which we do not use ing in those verbs. So one basic concept of linking verb is that, and we will go through the other concepts also. So that means this is another kind of the linking verb, but the main thing is how you will differentiate between the linking verb and the helping verb. So the main difference is that it describes the object, right? It does not help the main. These kind of verbs do not help in help the main verb to create the meaning of the sentence, but they themselves act as link between the subject and other parts of the subject, or it describes the subject also. Like if I say the sentence, you look very smart. Now here look verb is not playing the part of an action word, it is just describing the object, right? So some of the verbs, first let me take the definition, then we'll continue with this kind of the verb. A linking verb is used to re-identify or to describe its subject, which I have already explained. A linking verb is called a linking verb because it links the subject to a subject complement. Complement means we describe it more, right? So it means any word, the complement means any word or phrase which gives meaning to the subject, right? Like if I say you look smart, so the word look is describing of course the subject, but it is giving meaning to the adjective smart, right? So some of the linking verbs are smell, look, become, taste, get, appear, seem and remain. These are some of the linking verbs. Of course there are many other linking verbs also are there. Now let's go through the examples given here. The first one is he becomes a governor. So it is clarifying the subject, and the complement which is given here is governor. Then next is this perfume. Actually it is written perfumes, but this will be this perfume smells good. So it is describing the perfume. The word or the verb smells is describing the perfume. So it is acting like a verb here. So this is about the linking verbs. Now let me give you some more facts about this, how you will differentiate between the helping verb and the linking verb, or how you will recognize that this is a linking verb. First thing is that it links the subject and the other parts of the sentence, and it gives some meaning to the sentence. Like let me take some examples. The food tasted good. So it is giving more meaning to the food. Then you can see an example also given here. He is a monster. So the linking verb here is, and subject complement is, or the word which is complementing the subject is monster. So it is a noun here. But in the second sentence, if you see, he looks stunning. Now of course subject is he here, and linking verb is looks, and the complement to the subject here is an adjective, not a noun, whereas in the previous sentence it was a noun. So you have to take care of this thing also. And another thing you can say, it is just placed after the subject. So these are some of the description. Now let me clarify this also. Let us take some more examples and some more facts about the linking verbs. Now as I have given you these examples, in the first example it was the complement was a noun, and in the second it was an adjective. So the description is that subjective complement can be an adjective also, and it can be a noun or a pronoun. Let me take some examples so that it becomes clear to you. Like he looks tired. So tired is adjective here. And if I say the robber is you, then it is a pronoun here. So that means complements can be adjectives, nouns, or pronouns. So this is all about this kind of the finite verb. This is all about the finite verbs. In my next lessons, I will be continuing with the next category, that is the non-finite verbs. That is, of course, the transitive and intransitive verbs. We'll be studying about that kind of verb in my next lesson. So it's all about that's all about today's lesson. And once again, I will request you to subscribe my channel. Just like it, subscribe it, and if you have any inquiries, you can message on my telegram. That's all, and links you can see in the first slide. And that's all. Take care of your health. Thank you.